Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Slate Magazine. Why the Senate will absolutely confirm Matt Gaetz. I like to read that type of headline. I love it. I love that. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very important live stream. You will hear from Matt Gaetz and others in a couple of seconds. Matt Gaetz, I can assure everyone here, will be confirmed by the Senate or through the House in a recess appointment, which basically means President Trump can bypass the Senate. And within the Constitution, you have to confirm a cabinet through the Senate, but also you can actually bypass the Senate. And when both the House and the Senate adjourn, for about 10 days, you can get Matt Gaetz as Attorney General through a recess appointment for about 2 years or so, or until the next Congress. But they won't have to go through the House. They have 50 Republicans and Trump have 53 senators. Okay, Collins and Murkowski cannot vote for Gaetz. Then you would need a third not to vote for Gaetz. And to my super chat, thank you, Paul Bartlett. Thank you so very much. I can never thank you enough. Paul in Australia, thank you so much. To my super chat, thank you. Your support is greatly appreciated. But you don't even need, you can have 3 senators decide, 3 Republicans defect and vote against Matt Gaetz. You would still have J.D. Vance, the vice president, as the tie-breaking vote. So you don't need, and so yeah, you can have 3 defect. Now, if Murkowski and Collins vote against, if Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins vote against Gaetz, the 3rd Republican or the 4th Republican will not gain that would be the end of their political career. Okay, so some very few never-Trumpers exist. And Collins and Murkowski can abstain. I believe they can simply abstain. So you would have to get 3 Republican senators to not vote for Matt Gaetz, and still J.D. Vance, still the vice president, would be the tie-breaking vote. But let's just say you get 4, which you won't. He'll go through the Senate. But let's just say that there's another never-Trump Republican. Okay, that's not going to happen. He'll go through the Senate. Trump can still get Matt Gaetz for 2 years through the House of Representatives in a recess vote. There's nothing stopping Matt Gaetz from becoming Attorney General. The New York Times, Matt Gaetz, master of insults, now needs support from senators he bashed. The New York Times and others, what they do, the wonderful, morally superior, highly educated journalists and reporters who have devoted their lives to stopping and resisting Trump, only to lead to the House, the Senate, the popular vote, every battleground state, the Supreme Court, and the presidency. So they were powerless to stop President Trump because President Trump had a great first term, great economy, great foreign policy. He'll be even better in a second term, but he needs Matt Gaetz and a new bureau chief and others to fix Washington. And they're going to do that. And you will see people indicted because people broke the law trying to set up and frame Trump. But what publications today do is they write hit pieces on conservatives, and they write public relations pieces, and the editors and journalists publish public relations pieces on Democrats. And a hit piece is the greatest form of insult. Hit pieces from major publications, the Washington Post or the New York Times, or it could be the Atlantic, could be Slate, whatever. A hit piece from one of these major publications, let's say against Matt Gaetz, for example, or against Trump, or against any Republican, while at the same time, these publications never do any investigative journalism on Hunter's laptop, or the Democrat embroiled in a scandal, or potentially campaign finance issues regarding AOC and others. what happens is you'll have a headline, Matt Gaetz, master of insults, but really you have a public relations monstrosity trying every single day to insult, demean, disparage, denigrate, and ruin the financial prospects, the political prospects, ruin the lives, really, of anyone supporting Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. He's going to get confirmed. Let's just recap. He will get confirmed. You can have 3 senators vote again. You can have 3 Republican senators vote against Matt Gaetz. J.D. Vance, the vice president, would be the tie-breaking vote. But you don't even need the Senate for 2 years. You can get Matt Gaetz through a recess appointment, and they say, well, President Obama tried that. Yeah, but I don't think Democrats had either the House or the Senate in 2014 when President Obama tried the recess appointments. He was struck down by the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court had 2 or 3 more liberals. So anyway, hit subscribe, and President Trump just got presidential immunity, that victory that made him even more powerful in terms of the executive branch, because Democrats, everything they do, the opposite takes place. So they tried to convict Trump. They ended up making him more powerful, thank God, which is hilarious. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Let's get started.
President-elect Trump is steamrolling through selections for his cabinet today alone, nominating Marco Rubio to Secretary of State, Matt Gaetz to Attorney General, and Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence.
But these picks aren't quite official yet. The Senate still has to confirm all of those picks in confirmation hearings.
Joining us now to break down the process, Kansas Senator Roger Marshall. Senator, always great to see you. Among the Republican conference in the Senate, is there an agreement? Is there an understanding that all of the nominees from President-elect Trump will sail through the confirmation process?
Well, Dagan, I think many of these should sail right through. You think of Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, Tulsi Gabbard, Kristi Noem. I think those ones should fly right through. Most importantly to me.
By the way, this is a dream cabinet. Okay, Merrick Garland was held in contempt of Congress for refusing to give audio transcripts of Biden's special counsel criminal investigation interview or interrogation or whatever happened. Okay, he didn't want to give the transcripts demanded by Congress, so they held him in contempt of Congress. Same with Eric Holder and President Obama's administration. 2 Democratic Party attorneys general held in contempt of Congress. So spare me the nonsense. Trump is Matt Gaetz is a loyalist. You couldn't get greater loyalists of the Democratic Party than Merrick Garland, or than Eric Holder, or than Attorney General Lynch, who met with Clinton. And with Bill Clinton to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren, while the Federal Bureau of Investigation was investigating private servers that somehow got top secret intelligence onto them. Do you think Trump, you think Matt Gaetz, you think anyone in Trump's administration could have private servers? You think they could have private servers running for 4 years? You think Marco Rubio could have private servers? I don't think so. That would never in a million years happen. And if it did, they would find out how classified data was transferred onto secret servers, computer servers. It's impossible from a cybersecurity perspective. But if you're a Democrat, it's all good. There's no investigative journalism. No one's going to win a Pulitzer Prize finding out how Clinton's team was able to transfer classified and top secret SAP intelligence onto servers, which is reported. Even the Honorable James Comey said there was SAP intelligence, special access program intelligence, onto servers. James Comey then wrote the letter right before 2016, which actually Democrats blamed the Kremlin. It was pretty much that letter that sunk the campaign, but Comey had no choice. Because Huma Abedin's laptop, possibly utilized by Anthony Weiner, Lord knows what was going on there. Could you imagine? You would need a hazmat suit to even touch the laptop. But there was classified data swirling around that computer. So, I mean, Democrats can't type an email without an absolute catastrophe, of biblical proportions. But let's continue.
Is that new majority leader John Thune has promised that we'll get right on this, that we can start have the hearings now. We can't do the final confirmation until President Trump is sworn in, but we can start the hearing process now. He's promised to work hard, work extra hours, work weekends, whatever it takes, so let's get to it.
Obviously, the Senate takes their advising consent rule seriously. You'll take these confirmation hearings seriously as well. You mentioned a few that are going to sail through. Do you have some concern about a few of the appointments that aren't going to sail through, Roger?
Well, Sean, that's a tough question. Look, I think the elephant in the room is Matt Gaetz is going to be pretty tough. But what I understand from President Trump is he was elected to turn this place upside down, that Americans don't trust the Justice Department right now. And Matt has the talent to go in there and really make a difference. He's very talented. But let's face it, it'll be a little bit of a challenge for him. But I'm optimistic we'll do what we can do to get him across the finish line. With this majority that we have right now, we can lose 2 or 3 people and still get Matt across the finish line as well.
So he has your support?
Yes, Matt has my support, absolutely.
Okay.
Let's listen to that again. He's going to be confirmed by the Senate 100%, let's say 98%. If it's 2%, if the 2% chance that he doesn't takes place, it'll be a recess appointment because they have the House and they have the Senate. And so, I mean, the majority of the victories in the Senate and the House were tied to President Trump's momentum. This is a completely different Republican Party, okay? Paul Ryan and other Republicans deliberately set up and framed Trump because the old Republican Party did not want Trump. That's why Bernie Sanders is part of the very corrupt system that he claims to be against. When they railroaded and cheated Bernie Sanders, he joined the Democratic Party even more so. He became entrenched within the Democratic Party and was a mouthpiece for their Red Scare, McCarthy era nonsense. When the Republicans tried to railroad Trump, he went after and defended himself and defended his voters and defended, really, I mean, his rights as an American citizen. The thing is, the most authoritarian among us are the same people who think Trump is the biggest problem to democracy. They went after and framed Trump. They broke laws, and now Matt Gaetz and the new Federal Bureau of Investigation chief, hopefully it'll be one of a couple of amazing people, they're going to completely change Washington. And people will get indicted. Anyone who broke the law trying to set up and frame Trump and people around him will get indicted. This isn't revenge or retribution. It's just people broke the law. You can't set up and frame Trump and say he broke the law. That's against the law if he's innocent, which he was.
Finish line as well.
So he has your support.
And Matt has the talent to go in there and really make a difference. He's very talented, but let's face it, it'll be a little bit of a challenge for him, but I'm optimistic we'll do what we can do to get him across the finish line. With this majority that we have right now, we can lose 2 or 3 people and still get Matt across the finish line as well.
So he has your support?
Yes, Matt has my support, absolutely.
Okay. We want to go on to the so-called experts have been quick to claim that President.
So, of course, there's the usual apoplectic, meltdown, the unbelievable meltdown from media. And 30% of Americans, 70% distrust media. Traditional media is no longer not nearly as important as it once was. So in Trump's first term, you had this absolute tsunami of negative coverage, and people said, what was going on? Oh my God. Now Trump has the popular vote, every battleground state, the Senate, the House, the presidency, and the Supreme Court. Nobody cares what celebrities or Hollywood or 50 or 60 different liberal publications say about how terrible Trump is, nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares. I used to, before Trump won the popular vote, even I was a little bit concerned. There was some trepidation, let's say, regarding the endless negative coverage. I knew that Trump would win. I was telling you that for 4 years. But I was worried about a part of the electorate that would be influenced by the endless media coverage. Now, I know that nobody cares. Nobody cares. So media is doing the same thing that caused layoffs. The same thing that caused layoffs. Okay? They haven't learned. They just haven't learned. Let's continue.
Okay, John, we'll come to you later in the show. Thank you so much for helping us out here. Let's get right to Oversight Chair James Comer. He was in on the action. Chair Comer, it's good to see you today. Thanks for joining us.
So this is when Garland was held in contempt. We'll get to that in a second. Let's listen to this.
Republicans cementing their grip on power in Washington by holding on to the House. So what will the first order of business be for a united GOP? Let's bring in the Republican Wyoming Senator John Barrasso. He is the new Senate Majority Whip-elect. Congratulations.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
I guess it all becomes official on January the 3rd. So holding the presidency, the House, and the Senate, President Trump, when he gets in office, is going to expect that a lot is going to get done. Is the Senate going to serve as a rubber stamp for the president, or will there be thoughtful consideration of everything that he tries to put through?
Well, I think what the president is trying to put through represents an American agenda brought forth by the voters, and they told us what they want. They want secure borders. They want lower prices. They want to make sure the economy kicks into gear. They want to make sure that we have more American energy. They want to restore our strength on the world stage. Those are the things that the Americans want, the things the House wants, the Senate wants, and it's everything that President Trump talked about during the election. That is the reason that we won. We've been meeting today. I just came from a meeting of all the Republicans who will take over as the chairman of the committees in the United States Senate. The leadership team met earlier today, all focused on things that President Trump can do immediately in terms of restoring control at the border, like get back to enforcing the law and bringing back things like Remain in Mexico. We know those things worked. What he can do immediately to take the handcuffs off of American energy so we can produce American energy here. And then, of course, making sure he has his team in place quickly. A cabinet of people that he will surround himself with. No surprise, he's making bold decisions, bold appointments, and he's doing it much more rapidly this time and more thoughtfully, I think, than what happened when he won in 2016, because he's been thinking about this all along.
And he has the first, term to sort of learn from his experiences.
In 2016, the Republican Party did not want to win. Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell would rather lose. You saw that with Kerry Lake recently. You saw that with other Republicans in Arizona. They don't give the money. They don't give the funding to actually win those seats. You saw it with Herschel Walker in Georgia. Mitch McConnell completely tanked the Senate. Trump could have a 2-3. He could have 7 instead of a 3 or 4 senator lead. Republicans could have had 7-8 senators. There's no reason why Arizona and Georgia have 4 Democratic. These are red states. There's no reason why they should have. They're not purple. They're red conservative states. Okay? There's no reason why there's 4 Democratic Party senators. That's Mitch McConnell. He did not give the funding. And he investigated, along with Paul Ryan, a Republican president based on an absurd, completely phony dossier purchased by Clinton and the DNC. The Republicans literally utilized a dossier that was purchased by Democrats to investigate an incoming Republican president, Trump. Then they allowed Sessions, the worst attorney general of all time, allowed a special counsel to undermine a Republican president. Well, what do you think is going to happen? The Republicans said we'd rather lose. We would rather lose. And they wouldn't back Trump because the apoplectic media machine, the public relations wing of the Democratic Party, said, oh my God, Trump's the end of the world. Then we had 4 years of high inflation, national security debacle, and catastrophe. I mean, at the border, internationally. it's been a terrible 4 years in terms of the economy. Mortgage rates doubled. Inflation was at 9% at one point. Their energy policies were catastrophic, which is why Biden pumped millions of barrels of strategic petroleum reserves. And then he says, oh, he cares about the planet. They're the biggest hypocrites on the planet. But anyway, he didn't know. Now he knows. The only person better than Matt Gaetz would have been Rudy Giuliani. The only person better.
Something he's spoken about. He wishes that he had made some different key decisions from the outset. Were you surprised, Senator? I don't know if I would say I'm surprised, but I noted this week that when he's laying out the top tier cabinet post, he's decided first to go with a sort of national security bent, looking at his national security advisor, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense nominations, as opposed to more of an economic focus, Treasury, Commerce. I assume they'll be coming in the forthcoming days. But it was interesting to me to see that was what he prioritized.
It was, and we're going to hate to lose Marco Rubio in the United States Senate, but he is just the right person to be Secretary of State. He knows the issues. He's going to project the same kind of a strength around the world that President Trump has been projecting, and it's such opposite of what we've seen under the Biden administration, which was a position of weakness, which invited those to come in and be aggressive toward us. So I think that was a great choice, and we're going to make sure, and as we were talking today at our leadership meeting, we take over, as you said, January 3rd. The president doesn't come in until January 20th. We want to start holding hearings on those nominees early so that by January 20th, we can get ready that day to vote and get as many cabinet positions filled day number one, so the president has his team around him as quickly as possible, because time is of the essence. The president really does feel the clock ticking already, because he says, I only have 4 years. We have a lot of what we need to get done if we want to get America back on track. And that's what the American people demanded with this election outcome.
So a big part of the conversation in the last 24 hours has been the nomination of Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General. Will he get confirmed?
Really quickly, it's not the sensibilities of morally superior liberal Democrats who got completely politically demolished. Okay, it's their sensibilities, whether you think Matt Gaetz is... Any accusation did not lead to a conviction or even a criminal charge. So there is no question mark about Matt Gaetz. Democrats routinely accuse others. It's usually the same topic. They ignore their accusations. So, you have Bill Clinton, you have Joe Biden. They were accused also of the same subject matter. They were accused of criminal behavior. I mean, it's not just them. There's a whole bunch of Democrats. But see, they don't care. They don't care. Their political party runs accusation or no accusation, and the entire media overlooks those they use the word credible. So media and Democrats have taken the dictionary and thesaurus and thrown them in a toilet or down the toilet or down the tubes. I mean, they utilize semantics in a manner that is completely disingenuous and dishonest. When there's an accusation against Brett Kavanaugh, it's credible. When there's an accusation against Joe Biden 2 years later, it's not credible. It's just not credible. Credibility is dependent to the morally superior liberal Democrats on whether or not the accusation is leveled at a Republican or somebody within their political party. They live within semantic murkiness, and nobody cares what they think anymore. So you don't like Matt Gaetz, you're a Democrat, you don't like Matt Gaetz, you had years to charge him and convict him. You convicted Trump, and he won the popular vote, every battleground state, the Senate, the House, the executive, and also he has the Supreme Court. So good luck. Maybe you should stop accusing people of things they didn't do, or maybe if you accuse them, you should make sure you have evidence. Otherwise, it's gossip, hearsay, and just vapid, sinister politics. Okay? They don't have any evidence regarding the accusations against Matt Gaetz. Zero evidence. It's just gossip and hearsay. Somebody saw this and saw that. Okay, then charge him and convict him. But they didn't, because they don't have the evidence. So we should live in a world where that's evidence-based. Okay? Not gossip, hearsay. And the gossip hearsay, by the way, goes only one way. You never hear what former and current U.S. officials said that Biden or Garland or Harris did 20 years ago. Suddenly, it's just about what Republicans have done. It's never about what Democrats have done 20 years ago. And if it is, then actually the New York Times went after the accuser of Biden. And I'm wondering how that works. So you make allegations against a Democrat, and then what happens? The same journalists who would pontificate about Trump and Gaetz go after the person making the allegation against the Democrat. And that's the world we live in, and that's why most Americans don't trust media.
Well, he'll certainly have a fair hearing, and people will have a chance to vote. What I want to do, and specifically with this, and you would expect the president to make bold decisions and appointments. Look what happened to the president over the last 4 years. We have seen the Justice Department in this administration weaponized, politicized. They've dragged President Trump through the court repeatedly. You know, nobody should be above the law, but nobody should be the target of the law. And what we've had is President Trump being the target of the law. So when he talks about draining the swamp, it's not just all of Washington, specific the Department of Justice. So this is no surprise that the president has made a bold announcement and decision there. But everyone that he has nominated so far, better than the people that are in there right now.
If you work for the government, you have a government phone. Okay, and so like let's say you wipe the phone, or you clean the phone, or you erase what's on the phone, there's still a record of it. So when Mueller or Garland or the Democrats running the Department of Justice and Federal Bureau of and others, when they had these agents or they had these federal employees, they're employees of the federal government, and there were investigations, and suddenly the cell phones and suddenly the computers were erased. And it was just a backup system. It was completely accidental. They then circumvented criminal charges or indictments or the beginning of possible criminal charges. Well, but now you have John Ratcliffe at Central Intelligence. You have Tulsi Gabbard, who is an amazing choice for Director of National Intelligence. You have Matt Gaetz. The only person better would be Rudy Giuliani at Department of Justice. You're going to have a new bureau chief. Okay, and the National Security Agency, I don't know, that's next also. There's a record of everything. So these people are like, oh, we're going to get Trump. We have 8 years to get Trump. They threw everything at him. But they didn't realize that if you're on a government phone, you work for the government. It doesn't matter how powerful you are. Let's say you go to a prestigious law firm. You still, everything that you wrote, everything that you did at the government, there's a record of. Like when Clinton deleted those emails, almost certainly you have government agencies. I wrote about this in The Hill like 8 years ago. I was a columnist at The Hill. The National Security Agency, all of these intel agencies almost certainly have every single copy of anything that any Republican or Democrat erase. So you're not hiding really. It's just a matter of, oh, now there's a completely new regime that is going to uncover everything that you hid. And if you broke the law, Gaetz will almost certainly indict you. And if you did break the law, like they went after Trump, and they try to fabricate and piece together some nonsensical crime. If you went after Trump for political purposes, very simple. There are statutes, 18 U.S. Code 371. That's one statute. It's very simple. You broke the law, you can prove it in a court of law, and you go to prison. It's not difficult. It's not difficult at all, especially when you have all of the messages or emails or text messages that you erased when Democrats were in charge.
Warning from your friend and colleague, Senator Chuck Schumer. Take a listen to what he had to say yesterday. I'm curious what your response is.
To my Republican colleagues, I offer a word of caution in good faith. Take care not to misread the will of the people, and do not abandon the need for bipartisanship. After winning an election, the temptation may be to go to the extreme. We've seen that happen over the decades, and it's consistently backfired on the party in power.
So this is the same man that went after Kavanaugh, and then a deranged, deranged liberal Democrat, almost certainly a liberal Democrat, but a deranged human being tried to take, I was going to be facetious and say wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrat, but a deranged human being, let's just say, I don't know his political party, but he tried to end the life of a conservative Supreme Court justice. So you do the math on that. Whenever Democrats, and by the way, the statistics from government agencies, we know that crime was going up, but they fact-checked Trump and they said crime's going down. And they have all of this data. The data is skewed towards a liberal narrative. The reality is that you look at the most property damage, the most lives lost, the most chaos, the most curfews in major cities. It was left-leaning demonstrations. It wasn't conservatives. And you had people of color losing their lives, losing their businesses, and Democrats looking the other way under the guise of, morality. And this happened during Trump's last year in office. Then they focused on one day, one terrible day, and they ignored a terrible summer full of billions in property damage. But Schumer went after Kavanaugh. Schumer also stated, the intelligence agencies, it was with Maddow, the intelligence agencies can go after you. Well, but now the intelligence agencies are run by people who are not only appointed by Trump, but are very good friends or loyal to President Trump's vision, which the country is, by the way. When people realized the other day that it's President Trump, his philosophy, his political ideology, a more conservative political ideology, that's the mainstream. The fringe, extreme viewpoint on a lot of things has been espoused by the Democratic Party. But for the past 8 years, all you heard was that Trump was the marginalized viewpoint of politics. But now it's the opposite. Trump is actually the mainstream. He won the popular vote with almost 100% negative media coverage. What does that tell you?
What do you make of those words?
Well, the will of the people is fairly well known to people all across the country who looked at the results on election night. We want to get the country back on track. Under the past administration, at the end of that, only 1 in 4 Americans say the country's heading in the right direction. This was an election of, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Overwhelmingly, the American people said no. So what we've seen with this election, to whatever Chuck Schumer wants to believe, is fine with him. But what I know is that the Republican Party has changed, it's expanded. Hardworking American families, young people, minorities, all of these folks who have been just struggling to get by. I think we are unified in trying to say we need to get the country back on track. And the story that you just played prior to that.
By the way, I love this photo of Biden and Trump. I love it. It reminds me of what politics used to be like. I mean, of course, you have Biden trying desperately to imprison Trump and to go after his direct political rivals. We know this. But for a moment, and you could see Trump was very gracious, as was Biden. For a moment, you had like a, Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan type of, you just had like American politics. At the end of the day, you have the Republican and the Democrat, and they're there together, and the country is unified for that moment. Okay, and when they say, well, Trump is polarizing or the country is not unified, it's like, well, what political side disowns friends and family? It's not the Trump Republicans. Okay, what political side is so apoplectic? They are writing articles now about not going to Christmas or New Year's or Thanksgiving with family members that voted for Trump. Okay, that means you're in a cult. That means you are completely if you are putting politics above a family bond, you're completely delusional and you have zero grasp of morality. Because there are reasons to vote Democrat and there are reasons to vote Republican. Okay? No, not one party has a monopoly on morals or morality. But if you want lower inflation and you want a better foreign policy, you vote Trump. If you want other, fringe ideological issues most of the country doesn't care about, then you vote Democrat.
That what the Democrats are trying to force through in the final days before the next Congress takes over, illegal immigrants becoming citizens, all of these sorts of things. They're trying to hijack the election, hijack the process with these midnight regulations and rules. And I think it's wrong to try to do that. We ought to let the new governing majority take on in the House and the Senate and the White House and get this American agenda on the move to success.
Schumer's statement about don't misread the will of the American people is sort of ironic, given the fact that so many Democrats believe that that's exactly what the Harris campaign did.
Well, they weren't listening to the American people. They were so focused on Donald Trump, they didn't listen to the people that are saying, we want to shut the border, we want to secure the border, we want to unleash American energy, we got to get prices down.
Senator, we'll let you get back to work. We know there's a lot to get done.
Thanks.
So, again, it's very annoying when you have people saying, "Oh, Matt Gaetz, oh, that's a terrible pick." Why? Because the only thing you've heard about Matt Gaetz is an allegation that doesn't have any evidence behind it other than hearsay and gossip. Okay, so again, it's like the Democratic Party media machine, they work to disparage, demean, ruin the reputation of people based on like slander, defamation, gossip, hearsay. Then they investigate. Oh, there's an investigation. Well, what happened? You had 3 years, it's been 3 years or so, or 2 years. What happened with the investigation? Oh, you couldn't find anything. Okay. So there's no evidence, which means it's basically just gossip and hearsay. And that's not stopping Matt Gaetz.
Vivek, good. He working with Elon on efficiency. They're working on efficiency, among other things, and they're going to be saving a lot of money and making our country stronger and better. And they'll be coming out with individual reports, but a big one toward the end. And you put those two together, it's going to be really great.
And that's President-elect Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago last night, praising Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy's plans to cut government spending and waste. Musk and Ramaswamy will be heading up the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which is now using X to hire employees. Get this, the agency says it is looking for super high IQ small government revolutionaries willing to work 80+ hours a week on unglamorous cost cutting. Not a great sales pitch there, but Musk says there will be zero compensation. Yeah. According to the Manhattan Institute, President Biden's initiatives like the American Rescue Plan, student debt relief, and infrastructure spending has added more than $4 trillion to the deficit over 10 years. Joining me now is South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman, a member of the House Budget, Financial Services, and Rules Committees.
By the way, my super chat, thank you so very much. Thank you to my super chat. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Clifton, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Clifton, thank you. And D. Araki, thank you so very, very, very much. Greatly appreciated. No PhD Coyote, thank you. Paul Bartlett, thank you. Let's continue.
Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. So I want to get your take on whether or not they can actually do this. Do you think they can cut $2 trillion in waste?
Maria, it'll be more than that. I mean, what President Trump has done, a couple of things. One, he's gotten the enthusiasm of the whole country. The votes showed that. The election night showed that. Secondly, he's putting business people that have done it. Look at what Elon Musk has done. Look at what Vivek's done. They've actually built something. The only thing the Biden administration had were these pencil-necked elites who had never done anything other than get a government paycheck. The people that he has in place at really every department have got a track record, as President Trump does. So they will give this country a lift as we have never seen before. And the important thing that Elon said, he's going to publish the actual dollars that he wants to cut, and we the people will see it. That's who's going to put the pressure on these senators and House members who don't go along with it or who have some interest in making sure it continues. But it's a great day, and doesn't surprise me. President Trump has delivered the 4 years he was there, and he'll deliver now.
Well, I mean, Congressman, why is there so much waste anyway? I mean, some of these things that I was looking at last night, this list of stuff that taxpayers, taxpayer money spends on. I mean, taxpayers don't even realize how their money is spent. Some of this stuff is just crazy. Who decides this?
Well, Congress does. I mean, it's all done by people. I mean, look at why the $50 million to study monkeys. Why is the interest on the debt going to exceed our national defense budget? Why the pet projects, you mentioned in your previous segment, the government subsidies to electric vehicles.
When we shut down the economy 4 years ago, Democrats, media, the quote-unquote experts, the ones that weren't marginalized by the trust and safety team of Twitter, they plunged the country into endless debt. We already had debt prior to that. But we shut down economic activity. I still think we're going to head to a stock market crash, but Trump will get us out of it very quickly. And they'll say, oh my God, it's Trump's fault. It's like, no, the seeds for that were planted 4 years ago. You cannot shut down economic activity and then just turn it on like a light switch, like a light bulb, without major repercussions down the line, especially in terms of debt.
The bottom line, the public does not want electric vehicles, and why subsidize them? Let the people decide what they want. Ask any car dealer. But no, this is the greatest thing. And to be honest, I think you'll have other states that are putting business people together who have done something and to cut government and give it back to the people. Let Americans decide where they want their money to go, but they just don't know it because it's been hidden. Now it's going to be public, and I dare any of the elected officials to come out and say that whatever Elon and
oh my God, they're going to say that the $56 million to study the spotted owl and its ability to reproduce during nocturnal moments within the forests of pick a state. This is an abomination. This is what authoritarians have done. And it's going to be endless. Oh my God, when they go and indict people, oh my God, he's an he's a despot. He's indicting the people who illegally tried to imprison him. Oh no. And the country is going to do better economically, and then they're going to have the usual apoplectic hysteria for 4 years, which with even greater diminishing returns. And then they're going to wonder again why Trump won why Vance defeats their chosen candidate that they ended up railroading the far left, who would win a primary if not for the, shenanigans of the Democratic Party. And then they're going to say, oh my God, it's going to be the same. Or they'll change the paradigm of Democratic Party politics, will change forever, and they'll get back to where they used to be in the 80s and early 90s. That probably won't happen. They're not smart enough to do any of that.
Vivek come up with is not a good thing for this country. We can't keep the spending spree that we've done.
What are your opportunities now that you all have this trifecta? Look, you're talking about small majorities, obviously, still, but you've got the majority in the House, you've got the majority in the Senate. House Speaker Mike Johnson meeting with incoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune yesterday. Thune joined Fox's Bret Baier last night on the Republican agenda. Watch this.
Speaker Johnson and the White House and Senate Republicans are aligned when it comes to the things that we need to do. A procedure, legislative procedure called budget reconciliation that enables you to do some things that you otherwise probably wouldn't be able to do, at least not at 51 votes. And I think what we would hope to do is see if there are ways in which we could achieve some of the president's objectives on the border as he takes some executive actions. Some of those are going to need funding, whether
This man is a lot better than McConnell. Hopefully a million times better, but he's a lot better. He's not Mitch McConnell. I was at first worried, but don't worry about it.
it deals with the wall or whether it deals with deportations or any of those sorts of things, manpower.
So, Congressman, realistically speaking, what can get done? And what can get done easily? And what do you need 60 votes for in the Senate?
The president has laid out his agenda, like deportation, like completing the wall at the border to stop this invasion. People are with him on that. The crime that is caused. People are with the cutting. Now, they're going to have to sell it, but the American people will sell it for him. All the initiatives that President Trump has, I think they will be done. And I think the people are put in place to make sure this happens. So the big initiatives that he's mentioned, strengthening the military, getting this country back on a fiscal track.
Are asking the House Ethics Committee to preserve and turn over all documents on former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. As you know, Gaetz is Trump's pick for Attorney General. He was the subject of an Ethics Committee investigation over whether he engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use. The committee was supposed to vote on whether to release that report on Gaetz today, but now that Gaetz has resigned.
So this is likely what the Democratic Party does on their free time, and then they accuse others of what they're guilty of, which is what they do all the time, but there's no evidence, okay? If he's guilty in a court of law and convicted, then no, absolutely not. You don't let Matt Gaetz become Attorney General. If it's simply hearsay, gossip, endless investigations simply to promote public relations, negative public relations press releases against Gaetz in the guise of journalism, then he should be confirmed, which he will be. He'll be confirmed through the Senate because there's no conviction. He hasn't been convicted of a crime. Sorry, Democrats. I guess he's innocent and he didn't do what you allege he did. If he did those things, it would be very easy to prove. And you wouldn't need the hearsay and gossip of other people. You would have financial records. You would have video surveillance. This isn't rocket science. We spend tens of billions of dollars on intelligence agencies. If Matt Gaetz was guilty of what he was accused of, there would be surveillance footage. There would be video footage. There would be audio tapes. There would be text messages. There would be financial records. There would be hotel records. This isn't rocket science. You can watch one episode of Columbo in the 70s. You'd get all the information you need to convict anyone of a crime.
From Congress, the report has been scrapped. What are your thoughts on Matt Gaetz? Can he actually get confirmed, or is it not? He's not getting confirmed, and everybody knows that.
Look, Matt Gaetz is a brilliant legal mind. Matt Gaetz will be the left-winging socialist's worst enemy.
Yeah. By the way, TH3, thank you for the kind words, TH3. I appreciate the kind words and the super chat. Thank you so much. Let's listen to this again. TH3, thank you.
Look, Matt Gaetz is a brilliant legal mind. Matt Gaetz will be the left-winging socialist's worst enemy. I think he will get confirmed. Matt can handle himself. He has nothing to hide. The DOJ dismissed all the charges.
So you heard it from a top senator. He will get confirmed. He's going to get confirmed. And the only person better than Matt Gaetz would be Rudy Giuliani. Oh, my God. But by the way, there's still the Federal Bureau of Investigation chief. So President Trump I mean, could you imagine Democrats? Hopefully, it's an amazing pick. And they're like, no! But they don't have any, they don't have the House, they don't have the Senate, they don't have the presidency, they don't have the Supreme Court. They only have their usual apoplectic nonsense.
The political witch hunt, and Matt knows this, the political witch hunt on the ethics reports had been done by House members, and we know who pushed that against him. He pushed back, DOJ dismissed it, and so, but he has nothing to hide. Matt Gaetz is a tremendous pick. You can trust what he does, and he's a risk taker, which is good and is what's needed in that position.
Okay, that's good to have to hear from you, because I know some of your colleagues don't feel that way.
Let's listen to that again.
Look, Matt Gaetz is a brilliant legal mind. Matt Gaetz he will be the left-wing socialist's worst enemy I think he will get confirmed. Matt can handle himself. He has nothing to hide. The DOJ dismissed all the charges. The political witch hunt, and Matt knows this, the political witch hunt on the ethics reports had been done by House members, and we know who pushed that against him.
If Matt Gaetz is guilty, if Trump is guilty, okay, of anything, where are the text messages? Where are the emails? Where's the money flow? Where's the surveillance footage? Where's the video footage? Where's the audio tapes? I mean, you had more evidence against Bill Clinton during the Oval Office thing. Oh, what is I never had relations. You had audio tapes of, well, I mean, even then, well, you didn't have the video. Thank God. Oh my God. You didn't have the video. The only thing the audio tapes proved during the Bill Clinton thing, all he had to do was say it happened. If Bill Clinton, I mean, going on a tangent, had simply said, oh, well, we were talking about intercontinental ballistic missiles and things got out of hand. And so all he had to do was say, yes, he did. And then they couldn't do anything. But he committed perjury, and he said, no, he never did. But it was under oath. It was under oath. And then I believe there's a video of him under oath committing perjury. That was the issue. The whole Watergate or Monica Lewinsky thing was about perjury. It wasn't about what happened between Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. It was about him saying it didn't happen, and he was under oath. That's the whole thing. But of course, it started with the Watergate thing, which, like, you have Vivek Ramaswamy, Trump, Elon Musk, and like the Clintons, Democrats, the Clintons, Bidens. They can't do normal business like most people. They have a normal business. Everything's completely messed up. So the Whitewater deal was just a failed, very shady business deal. And then that led to the Oval Office. And then he said, oh, nothing happened. But it was under oath. So it was perjury. That was the issue. Had he told the truth, nothing would have really taken place.
He pushed back, DOJ dismissed it, and so, but he has nothing to hide. Matt Gaetz is a tremendous pick. You can trust what he does, and he's a risk taker, which is good and is what's needed in that position.
Okay, that's good to have to hear from you, because I know some of your colleagues don't feel that way. He said when he said he was resigning, he said, I don't intend to take the oath again. So let's say he doesn't get confirmed. He's not coming back to Congress. He's out now.
Matt will have to answer that, but
I love Maria Bartiromo, but I think what Matt Gaetz meant was he's going to be confirmed, meaning he's going to serve 4 years as Attorney General.
He can do anything he wants to do. I mean, Maria, he's one of those people who is brilliant at what he does. He's done things in Congress that people that don't like him, he's done the right thing. What he did with Kevin McCarthy leading that was the right thing to do. Some people disagree with that. But,
a lot of people disagree with that.
Yeah, but Matt is such a talent, and he will make a contribution wherever he is.
So I love that. I love that. Then you have Speaker Johnson. You have somebody who's like the antithesis of Paul Ryan. Even it could be somebody better maybe than Johnson, but at least Trump has a team. It's not like, this like a bunch of vipers and, people just wanting, to undermine Trump for a book deal that nobody reads.
Donald Trump, he was on Capitol Hill today meeting with House Republicans who are now only one seat away from reaching that magic number of 218. Is expected they will have 222, 223 at the end of the day, officially retaining control of the chamber. After a big endorsement from Donald Trump, House Republicans then unanimously backed Mike Johnson to remain as Speaker of the House in January. He joins us now.
Honestly, you'd rather have Mike Johnson than Kevin McCarthy, so Matt Gaetz was right. And the initial worry was that Mike Johnson would be a never-Trumper, but he's not. So, and they expanded their lead in the House by a couple or 3 or 4 or so. So that's good. That's good. You also have to understand what was so phenomenal about this 2024, Trump had negative media coverage almost 100% of the time, and he still won the popular vote. Again, for over 1,500 people on this live stream. Very important. Hit subscribe to this channel, and the reason you should hit subscribe is because I don't think many people are talking about the fact Trump got the popular vote, the Senate, the House, every battleground state, the presidency. And he has the Supreme Court, but with negative media coverage almost 100% of the time. And politics is about media, primarily about public relations and media. I should say a lot of it, a great percentage of politics and winning, becoming a politician, winning a seat in Congress or the presidency is all about media. But now what Trump did, he single-handedly destroyed the mainstream press, media, not by, imprisoning anybody, just by existing. Democrats and media, what they did is they made absurd leaps of logic. Everything was this apoplectic attempt to try to tear him down. But Trump became the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. Whatever they did made him stronger, and they reached a point of diminishing returns years ago. The more that they went after Trump, the stronger that Trump got, and the worse it was in terms of trust in media. Let's continue.
Now, Mr. Speaker, thank you. We appreciate it. So the polls were showing there was a 70 to 80% chance you would lose the majority in the House. That did not happen. You have a majority, albeit, again, a small majority, but you have a bigger problem, and that is you'll fairly soon be losing, well, you already lost Matt Gaetz because he resigned today, but Lee Stefanik, Mike Waltz. How do you handle that so that at no point does control of the House get into the hands of the Democrats?
Angie, thank you. Thank you. And Kitty Mew, thank you. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have, Sean. We have an embarrassment of riches in the House Republican Conference. Lots of talented people who are very attuned to the America First agenda, and they can serve the country well in other capacities. But I've told President Trump, enough already. You got to give me some relief. I got to maintain this majority. And he understands that, of course. We've been talking about it hourly almost every day. I think we're going to be settled. The numbers that you just projected there, I think, will be the reality, and we will have the majority. I think these seats, Matt's, for example, his resignation today was to help us because it starts the clock under Florida state law. It's about a 8-week process to fill that seat. So if we do this quickly, and I've already called Governor DeSantis to ask him to kickstart this thing, we could have that seat filled by January 3rd when the new Congress begins. So that would be one seat replaced almost immediately. All three of those that you mentioned, all three of my friends, all come from deep red districts. Yeah.
Would it be beneficial if Mike Waltz of Florida did the same thing?
Well, I'm going to talk about with him tonight about that. The timing matters. We need to stagger these things. He's going to fill a very important position for the president and for the country, and we don't want to delay that. And he doesn't have to be appointed by the Senate, his position. So we'll be able to figure that out. I know Governor DeSantis is going to be very busy working on all these matters, and the one you discussed in the previous segment, filling the Senate seat. So he'll be an active participant. We'll get this done. We're assured to have Republicans reelected in all these seats. And we'll work with a smaller majority of one or two for the amount of time that we have to. But we're going to be very aggressive, Sean. We're going to move the America First agenda for the American people beginning on day one. And we have all this work stacked up, and we're ready to go.
Let's talk a little bit about Elise Stefanik in New York. How does the process work there?
Well, Elise has a similar situation under New York state law. The governor there, Hochul, can't play games with this. It's about a 80-day process, roughly. And she comes from a very safe red district as well, so we'll get a strong Republican there. The county chairs are already working to come up with a consensus on who they'll put forward as the party's nominee, and we'll get that done. President Trump's already committed. If necessary, he'd go up there and do a rally. I mean, we will get this job done. But Elise is going to do an extraordinary job at the UN as the ambassador there. She's a strong voice. She's Harvard educated, really smart, very sharp and unflappable, and she will advance America's agenda at the UN again.
I love Elise Stefanik. I love Tulsi Gabbard. I love the cabinet picks have been amazing. I would be disappointed if you had a liberal publication that said, this is a fantastic pick. The best thing that any publication could say is, this is a terrible, horrible, atrocious pick. Then I'd be like, yes, this is amazing. So anything, it's actually the opposite. So pretty much whatever you hear about Trump, it's the opposite.
That's a really important position, so I'm delighted she got it.
So it almost sounds like it would be better if she were to resign sooner than later. Also, let me ask you: tell us first about the meeting with President Trump today, where he endorsed you, and have you had any conversation with the new Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who outwardly was very supportive of the Trump agenda? And do you believe that the House, the Senate, and the President are all going to be on the same page? Because in my mind, you have between 18 months and 24 months to get a lot of this agenda through.
You're exactly right. And the atmosphere here on a short period of time about the agenda going forward and how we have to do this in a bicameral fashion, we need the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans to be in lockstep on exactly the same page, and we will be. And he's excited about that. He's committed to the America First agenda as well. And we laughed about how our home cities and counties, his county, my parish, voted overwhelmingly for President Trump in a landslide. And our people and all the American people really desperately want and need and deserve this, and we're going to deliver.
Well, I'm encouraged by his words and everyone else's words, but you know what? I'm a trust but verify guy, and I want to see that agenda adopted and adopted as quickly as possible.
All right, so if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. I've been telling you, I'm not Nostradamus, but I've been telling you a lot of what's taking place. If you watch the channel, you're ahead of the game. You knew that Trump was going to win big for the past 4 years. I mean, I was talking about Biden resigning long before he did, the Supreme Court immunity victories, all of that stuff. But I'm telling you that Matt Gaetz will be confirmed. President Trump knows, Thune in the Senate knows, and Johnson in the House, they know that they have to have an attorney general like Matt Gaetz. They must. He's the Republican equivalent of Merrick Garland and Eric Holder. I mean, if you have Merrick Garland and Eric Holder held in contempt of Congress because they were so loyal to the Democratic Party and their presidents, what is wrong with having somebody who's loyal to Trump? I don't get it. The hypocrisy, the phony kind of indignation, like, oh, where are these independent Democrats that just resign and don't listen to the Democratic president? You don't find that. But then they say, oh, he's a loyalist. Well, everybody that Biden appointed was a loyalist. Actually, towards the end when they ousted and removed him, I guess they weren't that loyal. But up until then, the Democratic Party is full of only loyalists. They walk in lockstep all the time, especially for President Obama, Clinton. But anyway, he'll get confirmed. You can actually lose 3 Republican senators and then get the vice president. And let's just say he doesn't get confirmed. You can go through the House with a recess appointment. He will be the Attorney General. He will work with John Radcliffe at Central Intelligence. He will work with Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence. He will work with the new bureau chief. I don't know who that will be, but it should be pretty awesome. And he'll work with National Security Agency, the next chief there. And he will find out, did anyone break, this is the question that Democrats should be asking, did anyone break the law trying to imprison Trump on complete nonsense? Did anyone break the law? Because there are laws like 18 U.S. Code 371 that state if you utilize your government position for personal reasons or for deceitful reasons or for political reasons, you're breaking the law. Anyway, hit subscribe.